I'm joined with Craig Hallworth from Gunnison Copper. Craig, thanks for joining us.
Steve, so good to be here. Thank you.
So let's start off talking about the high-level overview for the company. You guys were formerly under a different name, Excelsior Mining. Why the rebrand?
So in November of 2024, just a few short months ago, we made a historical change in the company. Our main deposit, the Gunnison deposit, which we've been formerly pursuing as under In-Situ leaching technology, we pivoted that to an open pit, a traditional open pit approach. And that we felt was such a big change in the company's strategy and direction that we needed to change the company's name and to show the market that this is a new story now. Open pit, traditional technology, our Gunnison flagship.
I'm just curious, are there issues with in-situ mining when it comes to copper?
So in our case, we had spent money and built in-situ leaching, and we were operating that. However, we ran into some technical challenges related to some gas bubbles forming, which prevented, an optimal flow of solution in the rock. So unfortunately, this led to, lack of funding and a devaluation in the stock. It was only in November of 24 that we secured the final land package we needed to pivot it to this open pit approach. And so that's what we did.
So what does the development timeline look like now?
The development timeline is we are now looking at some opportunities that we uncovered in the PEA. These opportunities include things like monetizing the overburden, selling them as byproducts, gravel and limestone that's above the ore body. We're going to be doing a study on that this spring. We think that it could add hundreds of millions, possibly even as much as $1 billion to the revenues of this mine. So we're looking at that very closely, as well as a few other studies that we think can be done very cheaply and add a lot of value to the economics prior to looking at starting our pre-feasibility study in the spring.
What can you tell us about any of the partnerships that you have?
So we have our most significant partner, Nuton LLC. It's a subsidiary of Rio Tinto. They are fully supporting us with our Johnson Camp mine, which is our second asset to Gunnison. Gunnison deposit is the flagship, and the Johnson Camp mine is our second most important asset. Rio Tinto and Nuton, they are fully funding the construction and restart of the Johnson Camp mine. This mine has got a long history. It actually first started in 1881. So there's been a very long and colorful and storied history in the Cochise mining district that we control. And we're so excited to be part of this story of relaunching the mine this year. We expect first production mid this year, and we should be into full production by 2026.
So can you give us any insights into your share structure or any major shareholders?
Yes, so our share structure, is comprised of Greenstone. They're an investment fund that owns about 45%. The rest of our shares are more widely dispersed without any major holders there.
Okay. Last question for you. If we're thinking about it from perhaps somebody who has you on their watch list or an investor in the company, what do you want to accomplish in 2025? Maybe give us those 3 goals that we should be watching for.
So I think the 3 things to watch are, number 1, watch for the results of these studies I mentioned on Gunnison this spring. I believe we're going to add significant value to the company's stock by the middle of this year. The second one I would watch for is on the Johnson Camp mine. We're going to be publishing this spring a life of mine study that will give the market a better understanding of the types of free cash flow and the number of years of mine life that we can expect from this asset that will be in production this year. And then third is watch later this year as we start production at Johnson Camp and also monetize the $13.9 million in government grant that we received from the U.S. government earlier this year.
Okay. Well, Craig, thanks very much for hopping on here. Certainly interesting timing for a U.S. copper play with everything, especially that's happening with the new presidency and some talk about some tariffs on copper. So I think that you guys are going to be a name that our audience is going to want to keep an eye on.
Thank you, Steve.